Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new kind of reaction video for you guys today. Today we're actually going to be reacting to another YouTuber. And this is very different from my normal content, not nerdcore, actually not technically anime, but it's really important to me that I showed you guys this because if you guys have been on the channel for a while, you've seen a lot of drastic changes in me. And part of that has been taking care of my mental health. And in that process, I kind of stumbled on this YouTuber named Georgia Doe. If you guys have never heard of her, that's the name of her channel. Check it out. It is amazing. Mind you, she doesn't need my help at all and my support. She's already got over 200,000 subscribers. But just so you guys can understand what she does for her content, I will read you the channel description real quick and explain how I found her. So, her channel description: exploring psychology and emotions through popular media with Georgia Doe. I hope I'm saying that right. Georgia Doe, MA, has over 20 years of experience in cognitive behavioral therapy and psychotherapy, with degrees in psychology and education, a master's degree with distinction in art therapy, as well as two-time Canadian Jiu-Jitsu champion. That one's actually funny. She specializes in treating anxiety and stress management for both children and adults. Georgia is also a licensed teacher who found that she cared more about how her students felt about themselves and the world they lived in than the curriculum, so she went on to get another degree in therapy in order to pursue that dream. So, as you guys know, I love Hazbin Hotel, and I was watching videos about people really trying to get into the characterization of the characters, and she took her experience in psychology and psychotherapy and applied it to the Hazbin Hotel characters. And I kind of stumbled upon her Angel Dust video, which is a crazy video. But through exploring her channel, what really sold me on her was her series of videos that she did on Jinx from League of Legends and Arcane. If you guys haven't seen Arcane, go watch it. It's amazing. But I identified a lot with Jinx, not because she's crazy, but because of her abandonment issues and her need to feel validated. And listening to Georgia talk about Jinx's trauma, her emotional responses, and just the way she felt made me feel so seen. Like watching Georgia's video, I was crying. There's a big scene with Jinx in Arcane, well, which she's still powder, where she, spoiler alert, she accidentally kills her family. And she's spiraling because, you know, she just made the biggest mistake of her life. And the one person she needs is her sister, except her sister shuts down and basically just walks away from her, tells her she's a Jinx, blames her for what she did, and leaves. And when I first watched that, I felt physically sick because I know what it feels like to have your family abandon you. And I was angry at Vi until I watched Georgia's video and she explained the emotions and the methods that Vi was going through. I never bothered to take it from Vi's side, and it just made me appreciate that scene so much more. But enough of me talking. What we're actually here for is that she has done videos on a bunch of the Hazbin Hotel characters, and one that I really want to watch that I haven't watched yet is the one that she's done for Lucifer. It's called Hazbin Hotel Therapist Analysis, Lucifer's Depression. Lucifer has my favorite song in the series, the one he did with Charlie, more than anything. I've struggled as a parent, and I've also had a rebellious daughter, so I really felt for their relationship, and I kind of want to hear her thoughts on this character and the things he goes through in this series. So if you guys end up enjoying this kind of content, let me know down in the comments. I would love to react to more of her stuff, but of course, go support Georgia Doe. Go check out her channel. It will help you a lot, and you will see things that you never thought you would see. But I'm gonna shut up now. Let's jump into the video. I am going to apologize real quick for this being a little bit of a longer video because her video by itself is 31 minutes. So bear with me. Trust me, it's worth the watch.
Sir. And this is...
I forgot to mention, I am obviously no kind of professional therapist or psychologist. The only thing I have to really contribute to this video is my experiences. I'm 33 years old and I've been through a lot. You guys have heard me talk about being in the military, being a single parent, and a million other stories that I've shared on the channel. So I'm going to take my experience along with her input, and we'll see how my experiences line up with the things she says, and give you guys kind of two different perspectives on this one. So let's continue.
Sir Pentious and Angel Dust.
Your Majesty!
Hey,
The boy and the other boy.
So we're going to be going through a little bit of Lucifer's journey and his depression and how it's expressed itself, especially in his relationship with Charlie. And there we go. I'm just going to give you a little bit of like my Lucifer hat, which I love.
Now, presenting the magic testicle rubber.
How did I never realize he has a hat? He has a snake and an apple in his hat.
God, who am I kidding? This sucks.
He wanted to enact all these changes between heaven and hell. And that failure was devastating. So when we've gone through a failure, we often supplant that with doing other things because we're so worried about failing. So I'm worried about failing, so I don't study for my test, but instead I'm going to reorganize my office. And so for him, he's put all of this emphasis in something that he feels like he could manage and be successful at, which for him is rubber duckies. They're all over his office. They're everywhere. So he spent a lot of time in that. But it's interesting because here he is shooting the duck, and you see this picture of this time when he was happy with Lilith and his little girl Charlie. And it's that thing that sometimes we're missing the main thing that really will make him happy. And it's still going to be there. We carry all of our worries and stresses like a backpack, and they kind of eat at us. And so often we're avoiding things by playing a video game or surfing the internet when we actually...
I was going to wait till she paused for a break. Hold on, that's a bad spot to pause. But obviously she just called me out like crazy. I've messed up a lot in my lifetime, and one thing I've always been good at was video games. So I've always dedicated a lot of my free time to video games, not realizing that the things I needed to really make myself feel better, to get through my depression, was surprising enough, it was work, but not my job, because my job just contributed to my depression. It was work that I wanted to do. I've been doing a lot better, focusing on my YouTube, focusing on my Twitch, learning a shitload of things. Like, I love learning, always love picking up new skills, and it makes me feel a whole lot better.
Studying or doing our taxes or doing that call that we really don't want to do because we worry that things may not end the way that we hope to.
They wish
That's
to
a big
share
one,
the
too.
magic of free will with humanity, offering the fruit of knowledge to Adam's new bride, Eve, as punishment for their reckless act. Heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created.
For Lucifer, because he's already gone through this hardship of a large failure that really affected his feelings of self, he's avoiding that. And unfortunately, avoidancy just increases anxiety. And you see him look at his family, and you can tell that sadness. If you don't know if you're feeling upset or anxious or sad and you're not sure why, go through all the different aspects of your life. Because when you hit on the one that's actually the link to why you feel anxious or sad or angry, you'll just feel it. It'll just be like that, no, that's it. That's the thing that's actually...
She's very, very right about that. I had to do a lot of searching in myself. I was angry all the time. I was bitter, and a lot of it had to do with being... I wouldn't say being a yes man, but I always prioritized everybody else's emotional well-being over my own, my family, my friends, my partner, and I put a lot of my feelings on the back burner. Never really stuck up for myself. Never really did anything I wanted to do. It wasn't until I started looking inward and started thinking about what would make me happy that I started to try to decide on making changes. I was so worried that nobody would support me in the things I wanted to do that I didn't want to be a burden. So I just held it all in until I was damn near ready to explode. Going to bed in tears, like, it was a rough time. And then when I started, really reaching out, telling the people that I cared about how I was feeling, not only were they supportive, they basically got mad at me for not saying something sooner.
Bothering me. And that's one of the first things that you can use as a tool to be able to understand what are all the links to your anxiety or your depression or your anger.
Daughter calling? Oh, hello, Charlie. Hey, Char. No.
And we do that a lot also. We replay scenarios in our head that we can end up with like these cycling thoughts of we want to go through every single scenario so we do the right thing. That's often another sign of social anxiety, that fear of judgment when we're replaying scenarios all the time.
For me, it's my
For him,
ADHD.
this is a strong link that it's Charlie that he doesn't want to disappoint, and so much so that he's kind of become a recluse. He's left himself in a spot and avoided all the people around us. That's common with depression. And you would say that, you know what, they should reach out to people and talk to people, but for a lot of people, they feel so bad, and it's exhausting to be around other people and to constantly feel like we're not living up to what the expectations might be.
For me, with my experiences as far as dealing with people, I've always been the kind of person who, like, I've always said I know exactly how people are going to react and what they're going to say before they say it. It's just taking my experience and applying it to people, but that also prevents me from forming relationships. And I'm sorry I've paused it so much, I just don't want to miss out on certain topics. I promise I'll start pausing it a lot less. Let's continue.
And so he's wanting to make the best impression, but then that stress level makes our brain not really be thinking during that period of time. And often, even though we've replayed something and we think that we have it all perfectly, then when we actually do it and it just comes out as mess. Anyways, because we're so stressed about it. Sometimes you want to just take a breath, lead with the moment, and know that people don't really care everything you say. They don't even pay attention to it. The only thing that people actually care about is how you make them feel. So if you make them feel good, even if your words are all messed up, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, this is the first time she's called you in years. This has to be perfect. Hey,
Hi, Dad.
I don't think we're gonna be able to play that, but I think that that's just brilliantly funny. Because, like, you know that when he replays this in his head later, he's gonna be like, oh, that was the worst thing to say.
That scene was hilarious.
To your daughter. You try to be cool, so, but it doesn't end up the way that you had hoped for, and you're like, you spent all this time worrying about something, and it doesn't really matter in the end, anyways.
I've just been really busy, with, important things.
Well, I'm actually running a hotel to rehabilitate sinners. Maybe you saw our commercial.
Sadly, I missed it. I haven't been watching much TV lately.
And that's also something really sad when we're dealing with.
He's kind of just keeping to
someone that's going
himself.
through mental illness. Often they're missing out on other people's life experiences. And you might think that because Charlie is a young adult now, she doesn't need her dad. And I think that that's one of those things that we believe that are completely untrue. No matter what age you are, you still want that affirmation often from your parents or your parental figures in your life, someone to be proud of you. And even people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s that I see, they still want that affirmation, that...
This one hurts. Because I have a very, very strained relationship with my mother and father. My dad is he's been out of my life for a really long time. I haven't seen him since my son was just born. My son's almost 16 now. As for my mom and I were close when I was really young, but as I got older, she started drinking more. I started kind of coming into my own, and we just clashed a lot. One of my struggles was I had my son really, really young. I was 17 when he was born, and my life ended up falling apart within 2 years. I ended up homeless, jobless. I had to stay with her for a little while. But she was drinking, and no, she didn't abuse me. She didn't abuse my son, but verbally she would say a lot of things that nobody wants to hear. She would tell me how much of a loser I was for not having a job, not being able to properly take care of my son. And I was 19. I had no direction, didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I had no help. Even though she was letting me stay with her, nobody wanted to help me watch my son. And his mom was spiraling herself. So it was literally just me and him. Well, one day he got hurt, and I was trying to comfort him, and she was on the sauce, and she was trying to get between us, and I just like let me calm him down, and then you can hug him, and she just kept telling me what a bad father I was, and that was kind of the last straw. I ended up having to give him back to his mother, and I just couldn't live there anymore. I was homeless again, and I preferred to be homeless than live with my own mother. So you can imagine how that feels. And it took me a long time to realize that I just wanted my parents to be proud of me. And to this day, I still don't feel like they really are. So that's why that one hit kind of hard. All right, enough of story time.
That people validate us, understand us, and are part of our journey. Someone to be proud of us. So you are never too old to not need that parental figure to be able to share in your journey with you. And it's just so sad that he's missed out. He's spent so much time cycling and creating like a gazillion rubber ducks. I don't know why rubber ducks. Let me know in the comments below that he's missed out on his daughter's life, and you can't go back to that. So what you want to do if you are going back into someone's life is just to spend the time and to learn about things and to enjoy it. And hopefully if the other person is also open to that, you can repair and be able to be there. It might be in a different way then, because you can't go in and start to reparent them. They've already gone through that. But to be able to share their journey with as much as they wish to share. Try not to be too pushy about that. You want to let the other person also lead the way.
Listen, Dad, I've got kind of a big ask.
Yeah, of course. Anything in my power is yours for the asking. You just name it.
I need to speak to Heaven.
Oh, no.
And you can see that that causes him a certain amount of anxiety. He's gone through a trauma dealing with Heaven. And often when we've gone through a really strong hardship or a difficult situation or something that's traumatized us, even hearing the words to that can cause us an anxiety reaction. Sometimes also it might be the smell of the area or the look of the area or the people that were there. We're very associative. So even if we've gone through a difficult experience, even a location that's close to that, anything that reminds us of that, a song, can bring us.
I had a car accident, and anytime I drive by that area, I get like chills.
And you can see that strong reaction. He planned to say yes to no matter what she needs, because rarely does she ever ask, and so he wants to be there for her. But immediately that limbic reaction is just no. Like, he doesn't even think about it. He can't go there and doesn't even want to know about it.
This is really important to me. I need you. Come see what I'm trying to do.
You're inviting me? Absolutely.
He's so happy.
I'll be there in an hour.
And I was so worried. I was so worried that he might say no. When, especially if there's been an estranged relationship and they start to invite you in, yes, you have to be able to be there no matter what. And a lot of people are like, but I have work, I have a meeting. You know what? You want to think back. Are you really
No, you make the time.
Not going to that meeting, or for, you know, in Lucifer's case, staying inside of his little cave where he has sheltered himself and made what he thinks is a safe space, but really it's his own little dungeon that he's created. He's created his own hell.
It's a prison.
All of the things that he's remembered and wants. And so even though he feels safe, it's his own little torture. She's invited him out of that to join a little bit in her world. In 10 years, am I going to regret not doing this? Would I regret missing a meeting? Or would I regret not going in to show up to see my daughter? And so I'm happy that he understood how important this was, and you can feel the excitement from him. So good job, Lucifer.
My daughter wants to see me. Take that, depression.
I love him.
And his take that depression, it starts off really, really happy, but then you can see that it's still there. It's still.
I didn't mention this at the beginning because I actually was getting sucked into the video. But you see the outfit she's wearing. She actually cosplays for just about every character that she covers, and she's done characters from The Boys, Gen V, Game of Thrones. She's all over the place with as far as the media that she covers. It's pretty amazing. And she always ends up wearing a different outfit. It's really, really cute. But she also gets really emotional when she talks about these characters. And that was another thing that drew me to her channel.
Something that is plaguing him. You don't really believe when he says it. It's still a large part of what he's dealing with. But I like that he's able to say it. It might not be that he's consciously that aware of it, but somewhere he is aware that he's dealing with that, which is the first step. You can't actually fix something if you are not sure that you're dealing with it.
It's showtime!
Charlie!
Hey, Dad.
Oh, it's so good.
That face.
It's good to see you too. Dad?
Two things about this. One is he kind of like swamps her. You don't want to do that. You want to let them come to you. You don't want to be overbearing. But you see, like, Alistair's little tiny eye twitch is not so sure about having someone else, a stronger figure than him, inside of the hotel, a place where he's kind of been able to control. You can look at my Alistair video if you want to go a little bit.
I did watch our Alistair video. That one was good. It really talks about Alistair's need to be in control. It was really, really good. Check it out if you get the chance.
More into Alistair in his journey. There's a radio filterless version for your ears if you need it. Just letting you know.
Just saying that because she used the radio filter when she did it.
All of Angel's drug stashes.
Well, that certainly is something.
So, what do you think?
About what?
The hotel.
Oh, yes.
He's so busy thinking about other things that he's not paying attention to what she's saying. We often do that when we are stressed, when we're worried about something, or when we're revisiting.
That's actually a pet peeve of mine.
Caused us difficulty.
I hate talking to somebody and
Lucifer, I
then
think that
they just
that's
don't hear me.
Things. Him dealing with his daughter and this location causes him a certain amount of anxiety. And so because of that, he's not really paying attention to what she's doing. We live inside our head often talking about negative things, the things that we should have done, difficulties that we've gone through. We wish that we had done something else. But right now in this moment, his job is to be a father. And so he should be paying attention to what Charlie is saying. More importantly, he should be paying attention to what does Charlie need from me? Why is she saying this? And to get out of his head. Now, it's hard to do. You actually have to practice that. When you're really stressed, you need to keep on going back to what are they saying to me and why are they saying this? She wants what? Affirmation, to be noticed, and for him to be proud of her and to be able to help. But really the main thing is she wants him to be proud of her journey. There's something so innate to us to have someone else be able to recognize and be proud of what we're doing. And for her, she also wants him to believe in her.
So, teenagers are tough. My daughter is 13, almost 14, and we got into quite a few fights. She's been arguing with me more, but that's not what we're talking about. She found out about me doing this. She knows I don't like my job. She's heard me complain about it, and she found out about me putting so much effort into my YouTube and my Twitch. And what she decided to do when she found out was call me out of the blue, and she's like, "Oh my God, Dad, I heard what you're doing. I heard you're following your dream and trying to get out of that job that you..." I normally don't okay them swearing, but she caught me by surprise with what she was saying. She was like, "I heard you're trying to leave that shitty job, and I'm so proud of you for what you're doing." And I, like, froze in my tracks. Because, like, first off, I didn't know she knew, but my son, I guess, had told her. And to hear those words coming from my little girl, man, it just, it hit different. You know what I mean? Let's continue.
To be a part of that.
Oh, yes. It does look much better now. But I'm thinking this railing needs work. One good push, and you just go right over the edge. Whoopee! Bye-bye.
See, this scene I didn't quite understand
anything that she said. That causes
until she pointed it out. I didn't realize that it was just completely went over their head, everything they talked about.
For a whole bunch of different parts of her life that she has probably needed him for. And so this might be one more frustration. You can see for a lot of people that might be, you know what, I shouldn't have done this. And they won't ask a second time. And that's why that time when someone does something that they don't usually do, it's really important, if we can, to be able to be there. But be actually present. To be there physically doesn't really matter. You want to be actually present, paying attention to what they're saying and what they need. And then reading their reaction to see whether you've done that or not. If you've given them what they're hoping for, they might pull in, they might smile more, they might open themselves up. But you can see Charlie's reaction. She actually becomes more stiff and pulls back like, what are you talking about? This is nothing to do with what I mean.
Completely gone.
Maybe too much in your head or too anxious, to be able to read from the other person, oh, I must have missed something. And then you can actually address it. I'm sorry, I think that I might have missed what you were hoping for. What do you need from me? I'm sorry.
What? No, the plan, Dad. When do you think about using the hotel to help sinners?
And I think also, like, he might have gone back to that old habit of I'm the dad, You have to listen to me. Many years have passed where he's only been somewhat in her life. You can't swoop back in and expect that things will go back to the way that they were. You want to be able to recognize someone.
My mom
for
still
their
tries to
traits,
parent
their
me,
change,
even though
and
I'm
their
30
growth. A lot
30
of
years old.
Adults have huge frustrations when their parents still treat them like children, or they go through those old habits that they used to have that they might have changed and not being recognized for it.
All right. I mean, look, I love that you want to see the best in people, but these sinners, you know, they're just the worst. I don't know how much you can realistically expect from them, and heaven is not exactly as carefree as you might think.
What Charlie was hoping for is that he's going to come in and he's going to help and support her and listen to her and pay attention. And for Lucifer, he's now going to go into his own story and his journey. He's been living his journey and all of the different traumas in his head for so long that he wants to share that. But in
I
this
do like the
case,
way the
his
show
job is to be
spins
dad, to be able to help out and support
the
her.
apple of Eden.
And you do not want to trauma dump on your children. It's not her job to be his therapist. And no matter what, even when your children are adults, you still should not be using them as your friend to be able to unload all of your difficulties. That is not a healthy situation.
Now, this might be the one point of hers that I don't 100% agree with. Well, I do agree you shouldn't trauma dump on your kids. Your kids also aren't stupid. They are still people, and they do care about your well-being. All the stuff I talked about at the beginning with my mental health journey, my kids knew something was wrong, and unfortunately I did lash out at them. It was part of the reason I knew I needed to make a change. And they were also the ones I was talking, it was them, my partner, and we have a family therapist, where I talked about how I actually felt for the first time. Normally I just hold it all in. As long as everybody else is okay, I'll make it. But I couldn't. And when I explained to them how I felt, how they made me feel like I was basically invisible, and how I was putting my happiness on hold, they understood. And they were just as supportive as my partner, as my girlfriend. And your kids want to see you happy. They may be young, but you still have to treat them like people. And a lot of times they just want to know what's going on. Sometimes they want to know what's going on in their parents' head. And when you really realize how much they want you to be happy, instead of trying to do what I did and hold it all in, which a lot of parents tend to do, they're like, I can't tell my kids what's going on. They don't need to know. They don't need to worry about me. They're going to do it regardless. And that's the only reason I think it's a little different. Dumping all your trauma on your kids, no. But letting them in so they actually understand how you're feeling and what you're going through can also be very beneficial for your relationship with your kids. All right.
You can have a therapist or your own actual friends to be able to do that.
What'd I tell you?
That's hard for me because I don't have a whole lot of friends I could talk to, let alone any that actually want to hear about my problems. But I have a family that wants to see me happy.
Charlie. Sinners are violent psychopaths, hell-bent on causing as much pain and destruction as they can. There's really no point in trying.
Dad, stop!
Often when we're dealing with depression, there's many different causes to depression. But I think that for Lucifer, it's one, that fear of failure. You can see that he's quite the perfectionist when he went through the gazillion different types of ducks. He cares about things when he cares about it really, really deeply. And sometimes, though, because we care so much, that failure, when we feel like we haven't lived up to what our expectations were, it can be soul-crushing. Oh, quite literally. He's now outside playing the justifications he has inside of his head and all.
He's doing what I do. It's like I told you guys earlier when I came to talking to people. He failed, and he expects everybody to act exactly the same way. He expects that regardless of Charlie's dream and her efforts, sinners are always going to be sinners. They're always going to act like sinners. There's no saving them. And then that heaven is always going to act like heaven and never change. They're not going to hear Charlie. They're not going to listen. They're just going to reject her. And he is just using his experience as an attempt to protect her.
All of that negative self-talk. The more that you do something, the better you get at it. The more that you say mean things to yourself inside of your head, the stronger those things become. You're practicing them. And so he's run through these negative statements, and because of that, he's actually shedding it now out onto Charlie. When the world inside feels really dark to you, it's hard not to have that leak out. He's using this as his own justification of why, I've been so badly hurt by this, don't bother, I've already been through this journey. And so we often also do that to try to protect others from hurts that we've gone through. But it's her journey, even to make mistakes. And in this case, sometimes you want to...
That's a big thing I had to learn as a parent too. And believe it or not, it was actually my daughter that said this to me. And my son complained that every time we talked, it always turned into me giving him advice on how he should live his life. And I've just been through a lot, and he's dealt with bullying. He has a negative self-image. He's depressed sometimes, and I would always try to give him advice to try and help him feel better, help him do better things. Same with my daughter, and sometimes he just wants to talk, not always be advised. And in her case, she's actually the one who hit me with I need to make my own mistakes, and it's just revolutionized my way of thinking. It was kind of crazy. All right. At this point, we're already 30 minutes into this recording, or almost 30 minutes into this recording, and we're only halfway through her video. So I think I'm going to split this into 2 parts just to make it easier on me. But I hope you guys are enjoying the reaction so far. I didn't want to overload you guys with an hour-long reaction because obviously I've got a lot of experience to talk about, and her video is really, really good. But if you did enjoy this, please drop a like. I will drop part 2 tomorrow, so you guys can see the rest of this tomorrow. And it gets even more emotional because, Lucifer's song. And while I haven't watched this, if I just, put the mouse over it, it looks like she also covers when Lucifer comes to help Charlie at the end. So that's interesting to hear what she has to say about that. But as I said at the beginning of the video, support Georgia Doe. Her content is fantastic. Check out some of her videos. If you guys want to see me, it wouldn't technically be a reaction, but it would be a rewatching of her series on Jinx. She actually compiled it into one video as well, though that is a long-ass video. It's like an hour. But you guys would get more of a glimpse into my emotional trauma. And you would see why I connect so deeply with that character. If you want to see that, let me know down in the comments. If you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. Come back for part 2 tomorrow, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.